name's Julie McKellar. I'm the Australian distributor for Stampendous products. Today I'm going to show you how I use some of the Stampendous Deep Impressions chunky enamels. So I'm going to start off by showing you some chipboard pieces that I've already cut. And there's a snowflake and a couple of different butterflies. And they're all cut from, or by using these dies, and they are from the sets of dies from Stampendous. And these dies have matching stamp sets available. Okay, so I'm using chipboard, not ordinary cardstock, because ordinary cardstock is way too thin for what I'm going to be using these for, and the enamel does flex and crack if your base is not thick enough. So to get started, first off I'll use this butterfly first of all, and I'm going to put it in my tray and ink it up. And I'm using the Stampendous Boss Gloss, and it has the Daubert top, and there's a valve in there, so when you press it down you release the ink. Now the reason I'm using the Boss Gloss out of the bottle is that you can get more glue, ink onto the surface of the chipboard quicker than you can if you're using anything else to apply a clear embossing ink, because the chipboard sucks the ink into it really quickly, and you need to get as much on there. It's not going to hold a lot, but it's enough that it will hold the first layer, because we're going to do a few layers. And I'll just shake up quite a bit of that off, but not all of it. So that's about the amount that I need. I put it down on my craft mat, and I use my tray to put the extra back in, and I'm just using my shaving brush to brush all that back down into the bottle. Now I'm using the clear chunky enamel first for my first layer, because there's 4 times the amount as there are in the different colours, although you can buy the clear in this size as well. It's just that if I'm doing this layer of clear first, then I'm not using up all my colours, and it's cheaper to buy it in bulk. Okay, now to melt first layer. Now of course I've seen Fran use a griddle at craft shows, and I don't have one of those available, but what I have is this very old heat gun, and it has a gentle fan in it. So if you have a 2-speed tool you may very well get away with it, otherwise you'll have to perhaps use your fry pan and use your craft sheet inside your fry pan and melt the enamels from underneath. But I'm lucky to have this one, so nice and gentle, and it will melt the enamels for me without blowing them off the chipboard piece. So as you can see, it's going to bead, and as it will, but it will level out. Okay, now I'm going to use my second layer, and on this one I'm using the black, so I'll just turn that off, add my second layer and heat that. This won't take as long because that first layer is still hot. Okay, so if it's not spreading as much as I would like, and obviously I've got other colours mixed up in there as well from previous projects, Naughty me, not cleaning the tray. I'm just going to spread this out so it goes right to the edges. Now this is where I start to play. So I'm taking my little spoon. If anybody who's travelled, they know this is one of the teaspoons you get with your tea or coffee on airline. And I'm going to take a small amount of a mica powder. So I'm just going to tip it on. I've taken the gun away so that it's not going to blow everywhere at the moment. And just put this in the middle of the butterfly. Now if I do hold the heat gun at an angle, it will start to blow it in different directions, which is fine. But I'm going to encourage you to do a little bit more by using this little piercing tool. Yep, too much. Now that's okay, that's not a very nasty mistake, because I can always go back in and add a little bit more black if something like that happens. There's no such thing as accidents or mistakes when you're making craft items. There are creative opportunities. So this is my creative opportunity. So the powders that I'm using are mica powders. And at the moment I have a whole bunch of Dreamweaver Metal FX. So I've got a bit more black happening through here. Just spread it a bit more. Now I'm going to move it out of its puddle for a minute, and that will help clean up its edges. And I just want to show you the enamel that I have left on that mat. When it's cool, I use my little scraping tool and put it into my leftovers container. So this is my leftovers container from previous projects. Now as you can see, I have got long strips in here. So I've pulled them all onto the mat, melted them, let it cool, peeled them up, and then cut them into strips. So this makes marbling a lot easier, and I'll show you what I mean. So I'll just get one a little bit thinner. And a pair of scissors. And I'm just going to cut some thicknesses up. So this is a whole bunch of different things, different mica powders, different chunky enamels that have happened. So that should be enough. So I've got my small strips. So I'll just move the butterfly out and the strips out of the way at the moment. See if this is cool enough to pick up. Yes, it is. So I'm not wasting any enamel or powders or glue or whatever I use. It just goes back into my little tub to use later. So put the butterfly back in the middle of the screen now, because I'm going to play with it a bit more. So heat it again until it's melted. I'll start to put my strips down. Okay. and we watch those melt. You can see them spreading. So this is where you get to play and manipulate the enamel so that you end up with different patterns every time you do this. So I'm going to start in the middle and drag the tool out towards the edges. And what's brilliant about this, if you don't like the pattern that you have created, go ahead and melt it and do it again. But I quite like that. I don't think I need to do anything else. So I'm just going to move it out of its puddle. Now if you want to bend the butterfly wings, do it while the piece is warm, not hot, because you'll burn your fingers, and this is extremely hot enamel when it's really at melting temperature. So if I pick it up, I can actually blow on it to cool it down a little bit. See all the different bits of sparkle from glitter, other embossing powders that were in those little strips. You can even see some gold and copper chunky enamels from other pieces that I've done. I'm cooling it down. Okay, so it's still hot. Let's see me touch that. I'm going to just have to remelt that bit. So don't test it by putting your fingers in it like I did, because you can burn yourself quite badly. Okay. Which is a good thing if you do accidentally crack one of your pieces too, that you can come back and melt it and repair it. Okay, let me see if I can be less impatient this time. And that's me blowing gently on it. Okay, now I will use this piece on a card later. I'll put the picture up before I go of the completed card. So that's how to do the butterfly.